Here we are in phase 3, and I want to go through a few things. The first of them being planting anything else. So if you're doing this in phases like I'm doing, then you want to go through and add your final touches. So like I had mentioned in the previous video, I was trying to show how big the trees would get, the trees that I had planted for shade trees and my fruit trees that I had already planted, how much room they'll take up. And that gives me a better idea of what else I can put in and not have my garden get overcrowded. And you can also see I'm adding in some like little flower barrels is what I'm calling them. I want to add some more decorative elements, and these are perfect because they're going to double as flowers that will attract bees and local pollinators, as well as give it more of a flowery, showy, however you want to put it. Not that the rest of everything isn't going to flower and look gorgeous and amazing, but I just love flowers, and I think they really help things. So if you don't have to plant these. You can do tons of other things, but that's what I had in my plan, and whether or not I do it is entirely optional. I might get to this point and decide, nope, this doesn't fit here, or I want to put something else there. A plan is a plan, and then once you get there to that point, you can make different decisions, right? But at least you've planned it out, you've thought through what kind of plants will work, and then you make different decisions, or you keep the ones that you had. But where I want to start with this section, though, aside from that, is on watering. Because watering is a big thing, and if you've seen the videos that I posted about the drainage issues I've been having, it's huge. So if we go back to the phase 1 photo, you can see, slide I should say, not photo, you can see where I had planned in some drainage, and I hadn't drawn in the drainage here, but I had planned to put some under this path, and then it was going to come down. We ended up having to dig those trenches this weekend in an emergency fashion, because this area in this top left corner had flooded again. And we had already had to dig some of this trench, but we had to go dig out some coming this way, and then I had to dig a trench right here, and we took it all the way probably right about in the middle of where these annuals on the right side. Take it all the way down to about there. I wanted to show really quickly because this actually is providing watering, and I wanted to bring that in to show you it is a way to kind of deep water if you need that option. I had put together this drawing of how I had designed it. So there's fabric lining, which is really important because everything is going to be about keeping the soil and dirt out of this pipe. That's the biggest problem, aside from tree roots, is keeping soil and dirt out of the pipe so that it doesn't get clogged up and your water can flow. So fabric lining is important, and then of course the crushed rock, preferably washed ahead of time so that it doesn't contribute to any kind of silting or otherwise clogging up the holes here on the corrugated pipe. You could create a French drain out of this and take the pipe out altogether and just have the crushed rock. You don't have to do the full corrugated pipe. It's probably less expensive to do it that way. The problem is definitely going to be still the silting and clogging up with dirt. I've seen those. We have one at a site that I work at. It's been there for probably 20 years now, and the problem that we have with it is that it has silted up. I don't know that they put the landscape fabric around it when they laid it in, but the pipe that it's coming out of, it's draining into a sump, and all that's coming out of there is some rock and lots of like muck. So it did kind of clog up over time. It's not draining as well. And I have a feeling there wasn't a pipe there. It was just the rock. There was another one that the same people at a different site would have constructed, and that French drain actually completely collapsed. So, just know that these are not a forever thing. You're going to have to do some maintenance on them, but you want to set them up the best you can to start. I took some video of the different setups that I have for watering, and that's what I'm going to show you next. This is the watering system that I have for my backyard. It's on a splitter, so you can see right here we're able to attach a regular garden hose, so if I just need to hose something down, I can still do that. And then the other one is for the watering, and then I can set that up. I have it all turned off right now because of the rain. And then I was watering more often in the summer. I'll probably turn it down to, maybe every 3 days for the winter, and then maybe for less is not, a shorter length of time. But I just wanted to at least be able to show you how it's all set up. There's a kink right here that's probably causing problems, and I have a water, it was supposed to be a planter, but I have it there because it does drip, not a lot, but you can see I've put like plumbing tape there to help seal everything better. I actually had to pull it all back off, change the hose, rewrap everything just a couple months ago. This is if you want, once you've gotten everything where you want it and you want to be able to set up something more automatic. So it is low maintenance. Here is one of the options. This is another watering option. As you can see, I have some of the tubing coming in right here to help keep this trough full, but it's pretty full just from the rain right now. If you don't want to have to water all the time, this has actually been really great for growing tomatoes in the past. The problem that I had with the summers here is that it was so hot. The water was just emptying out, evaporating off faster than we could actually keep it. And so if you notice, there's a lot of dead tomato plant here. I thought we were going to completely lose this, but thankfully the heat let up and we started getting rain just in time. And so I've got some beautiful flowers happening, which means we'll actually, and green growth. So we'll actually get some tomatoes off of this plant. I'm so happy and excited to see that it survived and it's doing really well. But this is definitely an option. If you're worried about mosquitoes, this particular system is a grow box system. They do sell these little discs that you can put in there that will help deter mosquitoes, which is obviously not happening right now because of all the rain. I just wanted to show you that rain drip system. This is the tubing. I don't have it completely anchored down, and you can see I'm still fighting the crabgrass, but this is what actually waters throughout my entire yard. I don't have a sprinkler system in. In my raised bed, I have these, gosh, I forgot what they're called. I'll put the name on the video, but I just have this drip system. It's a drip system. And so you can, these actually, I believe, are a gallon an hour. If I were to leave them running, they would disperse a gallon an hour. Now I don't water for an hour, but the different colors of these tips actually are what indicates how much water gets dispersed when you turn the water on. So if it's, I think there's a red and a green, and you'd have to look at the product bag to actually know, but I put together this whole tubing system that's actually throughout the entire bed. And then these are Oyas. So Oyas, you would fill them with water. And then this is, it's just escaping me right now what it's called. But anyways, it actually helps to keep the soil moist because the water can come out from it. But I use the same material I have little bits of it that I put in with my salt or my sugar, and that actually helps absorb the moisture and keeps it from clumping. So very helpful in the garden and in your kitchen. This is my watering system that I have in my front little patio, and you can see I didn't put a splitter up here. I tried to connect the garden hose right here, and this is what actually goes and actually feeds the system that's set up throughout there. You've got 2 zones is what it's called, and then you can decide how often, how much, all of that. It's actually very simple. This one didn't have an app, but it was super easy to set up. Now, I haven't figured out how to just be able to turn on the watering hose. I might be wrong in that I can do that. To date, I am wrong because I couldn't figure it out. So I wouldn't suggest it. I would suggest putting a splitter here too as well, if that's what you're wanting to do. This is a setup that I use indoors. I was trying to grow seedlings, which you can see these are doing amazing. I have some others that are still sprouting and some that obviously didn't sprout, but all of this tubing is running through and watering everything for me. I've even got it coming down here, watering plants. One of them didn't make it, I'm not really sure why. That are keeping them alive until I can get them outdoors once the temperatures kind of settle for me. Sorry, you're seeing all of my plants that didn't make it as well, and my grow trays for microgreens, but this is actually the reservoir of water. There's just a filter on the end. I'm trying to pull it out here. That filters the water. And I just make sure that that's full. So maybe I check it once a week, make sure it's got water, pulls up into the system right here. This has an app that I can control how frequently it waters and how much it waters. I don't know that I have control over how much it waters, but it'll water for like 20 or 30 seconds at a time, which for these plants is more than enough. Now, if it's like this one is my chicory, probably just needs to go outdoors. It's not so happy here. And that was what was going on with this one, is it just, I don't know. It'll get happy and it'll grow and then it'll die back. Now I'm going to move on to showing you vertical gardening. So I've talked about the trellises that I had in my yard, or they have planned for my yard. I'm going to show you the video in just a moment of the trellising that I have in my raised beds right now. And then what I want to show you before we get to that is the different options. So yes, you can have trellising. That's one form, and that's a very popular form. I think it's very versatile, and there's so many different kinds of trellises now. Honestly, I think just in my raised beds, there's like 3 different kinds. But the other kind that I'm looking at are these towers, and specifically I'm looking at the green stock. You know, I'm not making anything off of telling you this, but I've heard the garden tower is also another one. I like the green stock. It came recommended, and it's because it has its own timed watering. This video is all about low maintenance, and so I want to offer you or suggest to you things that will be low maintenance. I don't want to show you a vertical garden that doesn't have good reviews or has very few reviews and maybe doesn't have its own watering system. So you would have to set up your own and then make all the adjustments to make sure that it doesn't overwater. The green stock garden is actually designed to do its own watering. I'm actually gonna see if I can't pull it up. Maybe if it cooperates. Okay, it's not cooperating at the moment. It's not gonna take me there. Well, okay. So as you can see though, as we're going through these, there are literally tons and tons. Some are hydroponic, some are just vertical, but they're actually trays, which I think would be really good if you're wanting to do multiples of something. You know, these towers, from what I understand, are really good. There's another hydroponic, and I've heard these that have like a whole ton of little ones are good, but I don't like it being made out of terracotta. I would imagine that it would weep a lot because the water would just come right out, or it would not weep if they got the clay too hot. So that would be a problem. But anyways, my preference would be the green stock. Look at it. It looks like it might even be nice and do it. Look. Oh, See, okay, so one of the big sellers, and this is me, is I love all the colors. I love that I don't have to just have green. I could have raspberry, or I could have this blueberry. It adds variety and eye appeal to your garden. There's a free growing guide, which just about all of them have now. But there's also a lid, and there's this ultimate like rolling around spinner thing. And then somewhere in here, oh yeah, they've got really good like advising on what you can grow in there. It says it can grow watermelon. Again, I haven't tried it yet. I will let you know when I do. But they do have their own watering, if I can get there and show you. Garden shears watering, here we go. Automatic watering system, there's a Bluetooth timer, and the lids, I believe it's all set up in there, and it matches. See, there's raspberry. There's all the setup for you that comes with it in this package, and then there you go. You just put the water in, and it does the work for you. Now, this is low maintenance, so that's why I'm recommending this one. There could be other ones, but I just want you to know what's available. Now, moving on, the next option you could look at is the wall garden. So I love this because, again, there's color, there's eye appeal, but I also love the use of space. If you are space limited, which is something that I face, then this is a really good option for you. You can get the max out of it. You just have to have a good sturdy wall because it's got to support the plants, the soil, all the material that it's made of, and all the water. So you really want to be careful when you're picking out these kind of things that it's sturdy and it can actually hold all of that up. And then they still have container garden around it. I also love the little wood holding thing. So these green walls, grow walls, whatever, they come in all different shapes and sizes. You can build it yourself, you can design it and kind of put it together as you go. So you can go as minimal or as maxed out as you want. Look, if you've got a nice patio area, you could get these little boxes that have the vertical planting with it and go in that direction. So vertical gardening comes in many shapes and sizes. As we're talking about vertical gardening, some of the plants are going to require vertical gardening. Oh, look at, there's a tomato. Look at how cute. It's probably too early for a tomato to be in this plant, but it's just exciting to see things growing. I love it. But as you can tell, on this plant, I don't know if you can see it separate from the others. I put the trellising, like I just used, this morning, I just can't think of what it's called, but just a cording, right? All the way up. And then I realized that it was at the top and it was still wanting to go higher. So I had to come in and get some stronger bracing. Still just used cording for right now, but I went higher and it's already at the top. I don't think I put that in more than a week ago. So that's a problem. I don't know how I'm gonna take it higher. I'm thinking maybe I can just go over and build out to the side. I don't know. I don't know if it'll like that because normally it's trying to grow up, obviously. Well, we'll see. But things to consider when you're trellising or doing anything like this. I wanted to go into greenhouses versus cold frames. Greenhouses are typically like standalone. You can do lots of gardening in there. I've seen a setup where it was like there was gardening and growing plants or sprouts or however what you wanted to do up in the top. We're talking vertical space, so like, the upper area of it. And then down below was an area for like chickens. And it was set up so that it could be like an enclosed system where, not enclosed where the chickens couldn't go outside, but that it could feed the chickens, and then the chickens would poop and produce manure, and that would be helpful to the plants. So that kind of closed loop thing where, you know, they're taking care of each other. Now, in contrast to this is a cold frame. And a cold frame, what I love about cold frames is you can buy them pre-built. You can buy kind of like a setup that's a little bit less fancy, but they don't have to be permanent. This is just hay bales with some screens or windows on top to help bring the sunlight in to warm things up. So this is really if you live in a cold area, you can extend your growing season. For Arizona, for example, we would probably be able to grow all the way through because we do have to worry about frost. And obviously heavy rain right now. But if you start your plants indoors, you may need to harden them off, and this is another great option for that. So I just wanted to throw these ideas out there at you so you know about them and you can look at them and see if one of these is a good idea for you. Now, the next thing that I want to go over is soil first gardening. And I've talked about this throughout the videos, but I really wanted to dive deeper into it. When you build in a support for your soil's ability to regenerate, and what I mean by regenerate is have nutrients or things that could provide nutrients to break down and encourage those, like the fungi and the whole world of insects that grow in soil to come and do their job. And then what you're doing is you're encouraging it to take care of itself, and that's really what you want to set it up to do. A true low maintenance system is regenerative in that the tree or the plant, they grow up, maybe you prune it and you drop that where it's at. When you do that, that also causes that tree or plant to prune back roots, which leaves carbon in the soil. It leaves nutrients in the soil that when it grows again can be used the next time. So it's this constant replenishing and using and replenishing and using of nutrients and air and water and all of those things that all work together. All of these elements build and stack on each other, and when you take the time to at least learn the basics of it, then it helps you be able to create that regenerative system that in return is less maintenance because it's handling itself. And so you go in there, you do the basics, you make sure there's water, and it actually will start to take less and less water after the first 2 to 3 years because of the way that the system is. So that's why I think regenerative farming or gardening is actually much more water conservative because of the way that water is retained. I just want to go with it's like some main points on this soil first gardening, and that's to compost in place. I just explained that. To prune so that you lock in, right? So when you prune the limbs or the outer branches, it actually prunes roots underneath because it doesn't need them anymore. And then build a neighbor garden, not a neighborhood. A neighbor garden is that your plant neighbors either make or do something that benefits their neighbors, so they all end up blooming. If you have a neighborhood, then somebody's stealing. Somebody is just a taker and not being a good neighbor. I just want to leave those 3 main points with you, and I want to introduce you to Ray Archuleta, and there's so many other people that are trying to teach the agricultural community about soil health and doing this. He's where I learned about soil and what all is in it and the diversity that's in it. And so there's this video, and I put a few links for other videos. He teaches soil health and regenerative ag, and I really encourage you to take the time to watch these videos and learn, even if you're not planning to be a farmer, even if all you want to do is grow in your garden or on your patio. This is still really rich learning that will help you be a successful grower of anything for the long term. Just to wrap this up, this whole series, I wanted to offer that in your first 3 phases, you've done some planting, and that would be like your foundational garden that you could bring in phases. It would allow you to spread the cost out over time as opposed to spending it all in one place. It's also going to allow you to put out the energy, because setting this all up is a lot of energy. And depending on what challenges you face, it could be more or less. I had this huge drainage issue that I have been dealing with for 9 months now, and I'm still not done. And so I wouldn't want to try to do that all at once. I mean, yes, it would be peace of mind that it was done, but it was so much work and it was so much money to try and farm that out to somebody else, no pun intended, that I ended up saying, okay, I think it's better for me, for my circumstance, if I spread this out over a year or two and not rush it. And at the same time, that's giving my trees time to grow that are going to provide shade for my other plants that I want to put in. You can have future plans. And as you're going through and you're looking at what you want for your initial setup, you might come across maybe that vertical planting looks amazing, but it's not a right now thing. You're trying to get other parts of your yard set up first. Maybe you take a section of your yard at a time. And then maybe you want a pond later on, which I want a pond later on, but it's not a right now thing. So those, I would still keep them in a list. I would make, if you're doing this on a PowerPoint like me, I would make an additional slide. And these are the things that I would like to have later, and I don't want to forget them or the ideas that I've come up with while I was doing all this research, but it's not a right now thing. So I just want to encourage you to think big and keep all the ideas that you come up with that have a good chance of wanting to be done. If it's something that is just maybe you write them down anyways, and you find later on you do want to do that, but you're doing all this research and digging and thinking about things and learning up front. If you're really investing that time into yourself and into your yard and into your life and your health, then why not take the time to write it down, put a plan together. And if you need help, that's what I'm here for, right? You can reach out to me here, or you can reach out to me via email or message, and we can talk about whether you want to have a professional plan put together, which I can do for you, or if you just want to leave a question in the comments, I'm happy to help you out as much as I can. All right, well, thank you so much for listening. I really hope this was a help to you, and I would really appreciate hearing from you if you enjoyed it, if there's anything else that you would like to learn about down in the comments. Thank you.